Well, staying with school tragedies this week, the latest unfolding at Parktown Boys High School. The school has come under fire after grade 8 pupil Enoch Mpianzi drowned during an orientation camp in the northwest. There are a number of questions surrounding his death, including the relevance of indemnity forms. Does it hold legal standing, and can it be used to hide from issues of negligence? Well, for more on that issue, we're joined by public interest lawyer Richard Spoor on the line to us. Richard, thanks very much for your time. An indemnity form, surely it cannot protect an institution or anyone, for that matter, from gross negligence, and I would argue the endangerment that Enoch Mpianzi suffered.
Well, an indemnity agreement is a contract like any other, but an agreement between the parent of a child in the school and the owner of the resort where this happened is a contract that's covered by the Consumer Protection Act. And the regulations to the Consumer Protection Act provide that any indemnity indemnifying against death or personal injury is deemed to be unfair. And the onus rests with the school and the resort to prove that the agreement is fair and binding on the parties. When a court considers something like that, it's going to ask the question, did the parents understand what risk they were indemnifying against? I mean, it's one thing to go on a visit to the zoological gardens. It's quite another to go rock climbing or river rafting. Did the parents understand what kind of risk their child was going to be exposed to? And a court will consider that. But there's another consideration as well, and that's the constitutional consideration. It's one thing indemnifying against negligence, a slip and a fall, but what we have here amounts to recklessness. Sending a child into a river to go river rafting without a life jacket and without a helmet is reckless. You could reasonably anticipate that this can have catastrophic consequences. And in those circumstances, it is very, very unlikely that the court will uphold this indemnity.
I mean, Richard, this boy missing for 17 hours before any kind of alarm was raised by the school, that really just says it all about the situation as it unfolded at this orientation camp.
Well, it reflects very, very poorly on the level of organization and the sense of responsibility that prevailed there. I mean, we're talking about small children. It's not difficult to understand that you need to monitor them, that you need to take good care of them, especially when they're in an environment that is as dangerous as a river.
Absolutely. And I mean, you've described to us some of the considerations that come into play when you're talking about indemnity. And, you know, someone on social media raised the issue of how the capability of these children to swim, how that was tested. You know, if you just think about something like peer pressure, you know, it might be difficult perhaps for a 13-year-old boy to stand up among his peers and say, no, I can't swim. Was that tested by the people who are responsible for these children's lives?
Well, it really doesn't matter if he could swim or he couldn't swim, or if any of them could. You cannot go into a river and go river rafting without a life jacket and without a helmet to protect your head. I mean, that's a fact. And if you're a river rafter, a professional river rafter, you're a complete amateur, you can swim, you can't swim, those are the fundamentals for river rafting. So it really doesn't matter if he could swim or not. He should not have been in that water without a life jacket and without a helmet.
Absolutely. And there's an argument surely to be made here, Richard, for officials responsible for what unfolded at this orientation camp to be fired. Surely there's an argument for that. But what about an argument to be made for charges to be laid? Well,
if your negligence, never mind your recklessness, is responsible for the death of a child, that's culpable homicide. And a charge could well be brought against them.
All right. Public interest lawyer Richard Spoor, thanks very much for your time. Some clarity there on that incredibly important and heartbreaking story.